It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome, welcome. It's Jill on Money, the first show of 2022. I hope you all had a safe holiday time, good seasonal fun, safety first, of course. This is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life, and we do that by answering your questions. The easiest way to get in touch with us is to hop onto our brandy new, beautifully redesigned website, jillonmoney.com, and you can let us know what you think about it. And if you have a question, just click the contact button. It is there for you. Just ask that question. Any financial question on your mind will help you out. Now, of course, if you want to come on the air live with us, just let us know. Mark will do everything else. That is what Kristen did. She is on the line from Pittsburgh. Kristen, what brings you to us today?
Well, I was doing some planning for the new year, and even though I have 403Bs, my husband and I both have 403Bs, we have the option to maybe move into a Roth 403B for the last about 8 years of our career. We're both teachers. And I was telling this to my friend, and he said, well, when you retire with these pensions, you'll have to pay X number of taxes and all that. And then you'll have these 403Bs and all this other stuff. But it's what you don't know that will hurt you. And I just don't know what I don't know. So that's why I wrote into you, just to kind of pick your brain about maybe whether I should switch over to a Roth 403B or should I continue going with the 403B I have now.
So you and your husband are both teachers. How much do you guys earn together?
Together we earn about $230,000.
Okay, great. And you have kids?
Yes.
How old are they?
15 and 13.
How old are you guys?
I'm 47. My husband's 50.
And how much longer do you think you will, or you're shooting to work?
We're pretty confident that we're going to work 8.5 more years. After my son graduates from college, that's when we'll retire.
You'll be very young, no?
Yes, but we get 60% of our health insurance until Medicare.
What will the pensions look like? So let's look at 8.5 years from now. You make $230 now. What will the pension be?
Well, we have the option when we retire to either get an individual pension that will just pay us individually without spousal support. So that would raise both of ours. So we were thinking about retiring without kind of putting the other name on the pension. So that would figure into about $7,500 for each of us when we retire. And if we go full retirement, that would shoot up to about $9,000. But since we are retiring a bit sooner, that would be it. But I think that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, that is. Have you guys used 403Bs in the past? Do you have a lot of money in there already in a traditional 403B?
Yes, we each have around $300,000.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And any other assets that are that you're saving up, like maybe for college, whether it's just a plain old brokerage account or a 529 plan?
We have college accounts for our kids totaling about $160,000. We have a very small traditional IRA of about $1,000 each, and then Roth IRA is about $13,000 each. And then my husband has a fund where he invests in stocks, about $40,000 for brokerage.
$40K fun money.
Fun money. It is his fun stock account where if we need to go on vacation, he just sells a stock and then we have a little bit of extra money.
Okay. Do you own a home?
Yes.
How much is it worth?
It's worth about $450,000.
And is there a mortgage outstanding?
Yes, we have $280,000 left to pay.
What's the rate? Do you know?
3.75.
Of course you know. This woman, are you a math teacher?
No, English.
What are you teaching right now?
Well, right now I am kind of between books, but a lot of writing right now, actually.
Really?
Yes.
Please teach these children how to write, because I'm going to tell you my biggest complaint going into the workforce is how few people know how to construct a sentence.
That's how I usually get them, because they have to write in every profession. And then some kids say, well, I'm going into engineering. And I say, well, you still have to communicate. So it's a hard sell sometimes.
What grades do you teach usually?
12th.
My very best friend was my high school English teacher. She was like the cool young teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I have a warm spot in my heart for English teachers. So thank you for what you do. But you probably teach a lot more like sort of hip, cool stuff than we did a lot of Shakespeare. We did a lot of classics.
It's a nice mix. And because you do so much writing, you can bring in a lot of texts that are a little bit shorter, a little bit more modern, bring in videos. Obviously on the internet, there are a bunch of TED Talks and just a lot of cool stuff for education. So that's a good thing.
What's next up? What do I have to read next for your class?
How about Animal Farm?
Oh, all pigs are created equal or something.
Yeah,
Some pigs are more equal than others, Mr. Orwell. All right. Mark, do you think that Kristen and her husband should be using Roth 403Bs? Yeah. So Mark and I agree that, you already have $600,000 in pre-tax money. You will have a lot of income in the future. Between the two pensions, and you'll also be able to claim Social Security. So you're going to be in I don't know if you're going to be in the highest tax bracket, but I would say you're going to be in a healthy tax bracket when you retire. And I think that you'll be happy to have more Roth money. Now, let me ask you a couple of other questions. Estate planning, wills, all that kind of stuff. What do you got?
You're going to be mad at me because we have a will all drawn out, but it's not notarized because we got it done right before COVID hit, and we need witnesses in Pennsylvania, and we're just lazy. That's it.
Okay. What can we do to help you get off this, your butts, and get it done?
We just need to invite a nice couple out for drinks and then go sign papers. That's what we need.
Oh my God, I would totally do that. Mark, let's go to Pittsburgh. We'll be the witnesses. Please do that.
Yes.
That would make sense.
Yes.
All right. And otherwise, I think you're in good shape. Is there anything else that's on your mind?
The only thing is, if we go with that Roth 403B, it would be with Lincoln Financial, and we have everything in Fidelity. And we were wondering about.
Wait a minute. Say that again. Why is that?
Well, it's because the way our plan is set up, we're grandfathered in on a Fidelity.
Oh, shoot.
I know. That's what.
That's okay. You know what? I'm changing back. I don't care. I'm going to say pre-tax, Mark. I'm sorry. Lincoln Financial sucks.
Okay. I was thinking the fees were kind of high, but we didn't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. That means they have to go into an annuity if they do the Roth. All right. Put it this way. If we could figure out a way for you to have cheaper fees, it won't be as cheap, but I don't know. I'm going to tell you something. Forget it. Just do pre-tax.
Okay.
That was a little caveat you threw at me at the end.
Yeah,
that sucks.
I went on their website and I tried to read their fee scale, and I just didn't make any sense of it. And it just seemed higher than Fidelity. So
not only does it, forget about higher. It's just such a ripoff.
Okay.
You know what you might want to do? Let me just put this out into your universe.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to go over the age of 50. You'll be able to put in a catch-up contribution, right?
Yep.
Okay. Maybe you don't do that. Maybe we beef up the savings. Like maybe you just have, the fund money account that your husband has.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we throw a little bit extra money in there and have a brokerage account that's more like a supplemental retirement account.
Okay.
Okay, if you have a Roth-related question, we're here for you. But if you have any other financial issue that's bubbling up here in the new year, maybe it's a resolution, maybe you need some guidance, just give us a shout. Go to JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button. We'll be right back.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and I know so many of you have some financial resolutions. I get it. We like to turn the page, start fresh. That's great. This is the program that might help you prioritize some of those resolutions, make sure you're on track. But if you need more specific advice that is for you specifically, okay, this is important because we can give you generalized help. Mark and I do this all the time. But again, if you want a professional to take a deep dive into your situation, we encourage you to check out our sponsor, Facet Wealth. Facet Wealth provides financial planning for a lot of different kinds of people. And for that, I think that all of us are kind of grateful. Like, we just don't want to be the rich ones or just for people who have no money, but it's a lot of different kind of people. And the Facet model is one that is goal-based. Goal-based financial planning from a dedicated certified financial planner, someone who is a fiduciary, who has to put your best interest first. Facet also conducts this planning with a flat fee, and there are no wealth or account minimums. Facet is endeavoring to meet you where you are. So go check them out. It's facetwealth.com. That's facetwealth.com. Okay, now to the next point of business. That is you, your financial future. If you've got a question, just give us a holler. Go to JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button. That's what Catherine did. Hi, Catherine. How can we help you out?
I need help formulating a game plan for my next phase of my life. I think COVID has really had me taking stock of things like a lot of people have. First of all, I found you and Mark, and that really helped me get the ball rolling, looking kind of at the next phase. Because I think in my 20s and 30s, I did the initial, saving and stuff. And then I've been letting it ride for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Now my kids are older and they're very expensive. And
can't go back on that. How old are they?
They're 13 and 16, and we are bleeding cash right now. But I think we're okay, but it just stresses me out because I'm a little neurotic about spending money. So there's like that piece. So we're spending a lot of money right now. Some of it actually probably a little bit due to COVID, some mental health things that have been, I think, triggered and exacerbated by that. And then
I'm sorry.
Listening to your show and thinking about cash flow, I refied our houses and sort of restructured some things to free up some money. And now want to get some ideas of what would be good to do with that. Kind of, I think in the next 10, 12 years, I think we have really a lot of expenses. And then I think we might be okay after that.
So we're going to suffer just for 10 or 12 years. Don't worry, Jill. I mean, come on. We can't let you suffer. Who's the we? Is there a spouse? Is there a partner?
Yeah. Yes, I have a partner of 21 years and myself and my 2 kids.
And how old are you guys?
We are both 48 years old.
Oh, nice. Are you both working, or is one of you home more with the kids, or what?
Well, funny you should ask that. So, actually, we both work full time, but my wife is in a job that is, we're both in education. Her job hasn't gone back. She teaches at the college level. So they are still remote. So she is working full time, earning a full time salary while also being at home full time with one of our children who is like an online student right now too, who's struggling. So she's both. She's double dipping. She is like a full time at home mom while also earning a full time salary.
Well, how much do you guys make?
We make about $230,000 combined, probably a little bit more. She does take on some extra classes generally, so that number goes up. But I think 230 is a good baseline.
And are you both contributing to retirement accounts?
So we no longer contribute to like a 403b or anything like that anymore. We fully do just our Roth IRAs and our pensions.
Tell me a little bit about how much money you have accumulated in those various retirement accounts and what the pension benefit will look like.
I'll start with the pensions because I love that you and Mark love pensions. Yes. I always tell my work friends who always talk about money, I'm like, you guys, our pensions, we're going to be okay. So we're going to be fine. We have more money than we think we have.
That's right.
So for my wife, I'll say 60. We'll start with just the number 60 as a reference because it's
as in age 60, you mean?
Age 60. So there's a formula, of course. If she makes it to 60 years of service, she will bring home 74% of her final pay for the rest of her life, which in today's dollars is about $6,700 a month.
That's a big number.
She also gets Social Security as well. So at 70, if she took it, she'll be bringing home close to $3,900 a month in addition. So
wow,
she's quite the cash cow.
Like her. Is she sort of focused and happy? Do you think she'll make it, a dozen more years to age 60?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Even she actually ran the numbers. I asked her to do this for me, knowing coming on the air, and she ran it to 65. And I was like, oh, come on. So, and if she makes it to 65, her it goes up to 93% of her final salary.
Oh my God.
So she'll work for sure. I mean, And I might as well.
All right. Well, let's see. So tell me about what's your pension?
Yeah. So mine's going to be at 60, I will make 85% of my final pay. So right now that's about $7,300 a month.
Whoa.
I do not contribute to Social Security, so I won't have that.
Let's just do some of these numbers here. So see, 6,700 and then you're 7,300. And so you got that 14 grand, and that's at age 60 before the Social Security kicks in a decade later. Can you live on 14 grand a month?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, fantastic.
We'll live fantastically.
Okay. What happens if you're to your pension benefit if you were to go earlier than age 60?
So that's what I was running. So I've been teaching since I've been 23. So I have I'll have 30 years of service when I turn 53. So one of the things I was considering maybe is your whole new endeavor idea. And I don't know what that would look like. So if I at 55 stop working and don't collect, and that was the thing, do I start collecting or if I don't start collecting? If I start collecting, I will get 54% of my final pay.
Which is?
I think that number was like a little under $5,000. If I wait to 60, that number goes up to 73% of my final pay. So that puts me in, the 6,000 range, I believe.
But you would work in other words, if you stopped at 55, you would work for the 5 years, or would you think you would not actually work?
I mean, I would absolutely, I'm a busybody. I mean, whether I work, I would do something for sure. And that's the other piece. We have some money in a 403B from my early years. I think there's that 55 rule, the rule of 55.
Yep.
So that was something I was considering too, like a way to get some of that money out.
Yeah. How much money's in the old 403B?
$314,000.
Yowza, 314. That's a real number. I thought you were going to be like 30 grand. Okay, awesome.
And that's in a Vanguard, pretty much total stock market and an international, little bit of a split there. And then my wife, from her previous job as a state employee, has a IRA rollover. That's about $235,000.
Wow. And how much in the Roth IRAs right now?
So I have in my Roth IRA, I have $180,000, and she's got $151,000.
What are you stressing out about?
I don't know. I'm just a stressor about money. It's just like once I kind of stepped back, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're totally good. You're totally good. But let's figure out what is actually stressing you out right now.
Okay, we're going to come back to Catherine in just a second. But let me just use this little brief moment to remind you that everything that we do, that Mark and I, that we do every single day, lives on our brand new website, JillOnMoney.com. Mark and listener Karen did a phenomenal job with this website. It looks great. Again, except for my big fat nose, which is on a lot of it. JillOnMoney.com. You can read the stuff that I've written. You can listen to old shows. You can watch television appearances. You can check out the resource section. And don't forget to let us know if you've got a really good resource that you think is valuable to the rest of the community. We'd love to hear from you. Of course, sign up for our free weekly newsletter. I'm really trying to boost my newsletter subscriptions this year, so please, let's do that, okay? All right, Jill on Money. We will be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are here trying to help you make the next best decision. Now, before we went to the break, we were on the line with Catherine. Catherine is joining us from the Capital One Bank virtual studios. Capital One, this is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? So if you want to join us in the Capital One studios, all you need to do is to simply just go to the website, JillOnMoney.com. And while you're there, sign up for the free weekly newsletter. It's free every single week. Okay, let's get back to Catherine. Here we go. Retirement is set. Don't stress about that.
Right.
Tell me about the emergency reserve fund.
So we've got about 70,000 cash.
Okay.
We have 2 properties. We have the one that we live in. And
Primary residence. How much is it worth?
Yeah, about 675,000.
What's the outstanding mortgage?
We just refied a 30-year, and we owe 271 on it.
Okay, plenty of equity there. Rental property?
Yeah, we do. So that was part of the refi deal. We had about 100 and so thousand on each of them, combined them together and just rolled them both out to a 30-year one mortgage. So we own the rental property outright.
Okay, what's it worth?
$450.
And obviously, that gives you some cash flow. Is the intention to keep that rental property or do something else with it in the future?
Open to it. I mean, I think my family is my parents, their rental property, they're into that, and they sort of encourage that early on. I have a pension, so I don't need the cash flow, but they're using their rental properties as their retirement, you know? I don't think I'm going to need that, but we have it. It's sitting there. It wasn't my plan to pay it off. It's just that when we had like 100,000 or so on each of the loans, a little more than that, and trying to refi 2 houses to roll them together into one. So that's what we did. So yeah, so it's cash. I mean, right now it's going to pay for pretty much. So now we have one mortgage, and the rent on that nearly covers the mortgage.
Okay. So the rental property cash flows enough to pay the expense of the mortgage, at least for now. And obviously for any of the upkeep and the taxes on the house itself, the rental itself. Is it a pain in the ass to manage?
Not at all.
Okay,
it's
great.
Totally set it and leave it. I mean, it's not a huge like cash cow at all, but it's just sitting there and it does the
job. It's kind of like having a third income.
Right.
Talk about the kids and college, and I know that you've got some issues with one of your children, but what does that mean in terms of your own planning with them?
So what I did early on is instead of like putting a ton of money into 529 plans, which we did put a little bit at the beginning, and then we just put money in Roth, worried about, the rental property and just sort of living life. Our incomes have definitely increased quite a bit, and just kind of letting things and compounding interest roll. And so when I stepped back after listening to your show and started doing some of the math, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, we're doing okay in retirement, but it's this shorter term game plan. With college coming up, my daughter started driving 2 old cars. Plus we had to buy my daughter a car during COVID. We're paying a lot of money out of pocket for mental health care right now. And we also bought a horse. So that's another.
Did you say a horse?
Yes, we did. So
Mark, do you know that I just listened to the episode about the moose and I was laughing. I thought I was laughing so hard when we were telling that. So now we got a horse. You're talking to 2 New Yorkers. We're not very outdoorsy. So these questions that come up where you tell your stories and you bought a horse, that is quite amazing to me. How much does a horse cost, or how much did your horse cost?
We paid $9,000 for it, which is actually, horses, it's this whole, it's a rich person's sport, and we're at the bottom end of that for sure. So my younger daughter is really into equestrian, and I do have 529s. We have about 60 grand total in 529. So
are each of these kids college bound, do you think?
My oldest one for sure is going to go, and she's a junior in high school. So there's that. And our plan was probably to use our Roths for that piece.
Why? Use up the 529 money.
Yeah, well, we will. We'll use that first, but depending on where she wants to go.
Isn't she going to be a California state person? You live in the best state college system in the country.
Totally agreed. Absolutely agree with you. And my fingers are crossed that we go that route. She also has some hopes of some East Coast schools as well. So
those East Coast elites, forget it.
We said we would pay. We're going to pay for a UC level price, and anything above that, she can figure out the difference.
So if you're in UC territory, right, in state what is that, 25 or 30 grand a year?
Something, somewhere in that ballpark. Okay. I'm anticipating about if we can get 40,000 a year, I think that would be pretty good for 4 years.
And you said you have 60 grand saved for each kid. So there's 120 total?
That's combined.
Okay, 60 grand total. Okay. Is there any brokerage account money besides what you're talking about when you talk about the Roth IRA?
There is no brokerage account, and I just opened one up. So we refied our house, pushed it back to a 30-year so we could purposely free up a bunch of cash for the short-term expenses that we're sort of dealing with.
Okay, so in addition to the 70 in the emergency reserve, what's in the brokerage account?
Nothing. It's a zero balance right now.
I see.
We're ready to go, and we should have monthly excess, hopefully of at least about $1,000 a month that we can throw in there, maybe more.
Do you have your wills done, estate planning?
Absolutely.
You have life insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
About $1 million a piece.
Great. Is there anything else I need to know about besides Mr. Ed?
Well, we're out of pocket right now, like our mental health care. We're paying about so the horse is probably about $1,200 a month. Mental health care right now is out of pocket about that same amount.
All right. But this is a short-term, as you said, it's a short-term issue. So obviously there's a very easy solution to this, which you don't want to really contemplate this second. Mark, chime in, Mark.
Do you want to unload the rental?
Yes. Yes, I do. There is $450,000 of stress relief at your fingertips as we speak. All right, we're going to finish up with Catherine in just a second, but I just want to do a little bit of business, remind you that while you're on the website, JillOnMoney.com, which is brand new and it looks fabulous, do me a favor and just bookmark it. That way, whenever you have a financial question, you can just let us know. Just click the contact button. And you may want to check out all the other stuff that's going on there, reading articles, maybe listening to old shows, and sign up for our 2 other podcasts, Jill on Money and I on Money. Okay, we'll be right back.
If you've missed any part of the show or want to check out a past show, go to JillOnMoney.com for more great personal finance content.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. If you have a financial question that's on your mind, maybe it's an economic question. Maybe you've got a big picture question. Maybe you're saying to yourselves, I don't know how to make sense of 2022. I don't know. It's okay. Whatever it is that's on your mind, we truly would love to hear from you. Mark and I love this stuff because it really does make us feel like we've got an impact and we're helping to change your lives and maybe just take some of the burden off of you. So if you've got a question, head over to JillOnMoney.com, JillOnMoney.com, and you click the contact button. That's all it is. It's so easy. So why not do it, right? I mean, that's the other question. Like, why aren't you doing that? You can always change your name. You can change a few little facts if you've got maybe a little bit of a weird voice. You know, we'll help you protect yourself. Don't worry. Okay, it's time to finish up with Catherine so we can let her go and let someone else in the queue. Okay, here we go. I don't know whether the property values are appreciating. I assume they are.
Yeah.
You can try to bootstrap this and cash flow for expenses and everything. But, you know, really, the easiest thing in the world for you is to sell the rental property.
Sure.
And to pay the tax that's due and to take that money, pay for college, ease up your cash flow, give yourselves a 10-year time horizon where you have cash available to do everything you want to do. I mean, I don't think that there's a simpler solution than that. Now, again, that may seem really awful, and don't tell your parents about it just yet. But if I had my druthers, if you want maximum opportunity to either retire early for you and also just to be able to pay for everything associated with the kids and college and cash flow, that's where it is. That's where your opportunity is because that's the money that is sitting there. One of the things that I look at when I'm looking at a rental property is to say, you know, what's it yielding? What is the actual yield on the investment? And, you know, this is okay. It's just, you know, you've got all this money, $450,000 at work, and it's just giving you, you know, $20,000, $25,000 a year. And it's this big illiquid asset. And I wonder that if you had, for example, I know that you did the refi on the primary, but honestly, if you had right now in the bank, let's say you pay your taxes and everything, and you now have $300,000 in your brokerage account, seems to me that all your problems are solved. Your near-term cash flow issues around the kids and the horse and all that, you can use this money to fund that. And like you said, this is probably, we're talking about 5 years essentially, that you have a 5-year issue on cash flow. If you had 50 grand a year to burn up on that cash flow and that was the best thing for your family, then I think that instead of driving yourself crazy, you can tap the money and it's right there for you.
Right.
Obviously, the retirement issue is not the issue. It is getting from today, age 48, to age 55. So we're looking at this next 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the 7-year problem, the 7-year itch is solved by selling the rental property.
Right. I guess one of my questions was knowing the Roth is there, but also not really necessarily needing that money because we're going to have so much, I'm like, what are we going to use the Roths for ultimately other than to pass it on?
Yeah, well, Mark makes a good point. That is really the thing you want the kids to inherit. You want the money that has already been taxed. You want that to be the money that's passed down. Okay. So ideally, you spend every other dollar that is available to you. And the kids, you preserve the Roths, right? So you have this 230 or 250 grand maybe by the end of next year. You have this $250,000 right now in Roths that you do not ever touch. And that is perhaps the best asset for the kids to inherit.
Okay.
Honestly, if you had the money from the rental property freed up, of the 350, you could say, let's put 50 grand in cash and add it to the emergency reserve just to see how the next couple of years goes with expenses. Let's see how things settle out. And of course, you're going to have to pay for the 30-year mortgage payment on its own, right? But I do think that this is a plan that can help you alleviate the stress that you are feeling. So you're feeling the stress, not recognizing that the money is sitting in a pot. It's just the pot is not liquid yet. Right. So we just have to try to get that into your hands so that you can enjoy all of the hard work that you've already done.
I hear you.
I think you're actually in better shape than you believe. It's just that big fat asset is sitting there. And yes, it's creating income. And that's great. But to really alleviate your needs, you have to know that you have money available. Maybe things go better than we imagine. Maybe just having this conversation without even selling the rental property is enough for you. Because maybe at the very least you say, let's see how we do. We're spending this money. Even if we don't put a lot of money in that brokerage account, worst case scenario, we sell the rental property and our problems are solved. Just knowing you can do it should help relieve that anxiety you're feeling.
Yeah, so it'll be our parachute.
If you want a mini financial plan, just like Catherine, all you need to do, give us a holler. JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button. And again, if you bookmark that, it will be the place where you can find all of our content. We'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are closing out the first hour with a question from one of you. And if you have a financial question, just go to the brand new, beautiful website, JillOnMoney.com, and hit the contact button. While you're there, that contact button, it's going to give you an option of appearing live with us. Would you come on the show? Or not live, live-ish, we should probably say. Anyway, click that button if you want to come on the air with us. Kathy did not want to come on the air. So she is writing and says, I'm wondering if you can give me the downside of keeping my 401k in my employer's plan. I realize plan options are probably more limited than in an IRA or something else, and that I need to get the costs associated with any upkeep or withdrawal plan I may want to start. But are there any other bad consequences there could be by leaving it where it is? The answer is no, Kathy. There's no real downside. Some plans do force it. They do want people to have the money out of the plan by a certain period. If the company were to be sold, that could certainly impact you. But you know what? Generally speaking, there really isn't a downside, especially if it's a good plan. I am most concerned with plan costs than anything else, frankly. I would take a good look at that. Try to make sure you see not just what the cost of the funds are, but sometimes there's actually a generalized expense for holding the account where it is. But if you have gone through that and you realize, you say, gosh, I have a wonderful plan. Maybe it's with Fidelity or Schwab or T. Rowe Price, or maybe it's TD Ameritrade, whatever. If it's cheap and the funds are good and they're fine for you, then keep it where it is. Sometimes that's easier. Mark is a fan of moving these assets if you can consolidate. So if you already have an IRA and you want to roll it over, maybe that's good. Generally, though, there's not a huge downside. If it's just cleaning up and keeping things consolidated, that's one reason. But otherwise, you're fine. Keep it where it is. You don't have a problem. It's fine. Okay. So if you would like to know where you should move your old retirement accounts, or whether you should or should not move them, or any other financial question, just hop onto our website, JillOnMoney.com. Click the contact button. We'll get your note. Don't forget, while you are there at the JillOnMoney.com brand new website, sign up for the free weekly newsletter. It's free. It comes out every Friday. Mark does a fantastic job with that. Okay? So that's what we got for you. We have a whole nother hour of fun ahead of us. Aren't you excited? I know I am. Jill on Money. We will be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's hour number 2 of Jill on Money, and we are here to try to help you through good times and bad. And it doesn't really matter what's going on. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how little money you have. We want to help you make good financial decisions. Go to the website, JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button, and then we will be able to answer that question, either with you on the air with us or as an email. So let's go out and talk to Nora. She's on the line from Boston. Hi, Nora. How can we help you out?
So it's been a wild ride of pandemic, and I was an art professor for the last 14 years, 10 of them adjunct, 4 of them were a glorious full-time where I was in charge of the art department. And then pandemic happened and my school closed.
Wow.
So I'm fortunate in that I got a severance package that gives me my salary for a year and my health insurance for the year. And because of the way Massachusetts deals with signed severance packages, I'm also eligible for unemployment.
When did the severance kick in?
It kicked in August.
And how much were you earning? So what is the severance amount?
$58,000 for the year.
That's kind of stinky for being a super, smart art professor. No?
Absolutely. When you look at, and there used to be those ratings of how all of the colleges lined up with pay, we were always at the bottom. It used to be, it was 10 minutes from my house and it was beautiful and it was mine. So,
yeah. Okay. So severance and health insurance. Do you have a spouse?
I have a spouse and a child. And my spouse is also in transition now. We kind of realized with everything that happened, he was laid off initially at the beginning of the pandemic and then rehired, it was a furlough kind of situation.
Yep.
And then with my departure, we realized we need him to make a lot more money and have more stability, something that he can do remotely if the world crashes again.
Okay. How old are you guys?
So I am 38 and he is 35.
How old is the kid?
4.
How much does your spouse make currently?
So he just left, but his previous salary was also 58.
Oh, how did you guys do on that combined salary of, 116?
We were feeling very comfortable there.
Really?
Yes.
And you live in a high price market. Do you own a home?
We do. We own a 2-family home. So we rent out the first floor unit, which covers most of our mortgage and the taxes.
Oh, that's great.
We were so comfortable.
Oh, that's awesome. So how much is the home worth?
So the home is worth between 800 and $1 million at this point. And we bought it for 4 and owe less than 3 at this point.
Oh, great. You're not accelerating any of the mortgage, are you?
No, we did refi right before I got fired.
Okay.
To get a lower rate, and it reduced it by a year, but it just made sense to do a 20-year. We didn't want to extend it longer, blah, blah, blah.
I gotcha. Okay. Now your husband quit. What does he do?
So he was a master photo printer. So when you go
keeping it in the family.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. When you go to the Met or the Guggenheim or wherever and you see a photography show, he has printed some of those.
Oh, that's exciting. So what's next?
Next, he's going to do, or he started on Monday. He's doing a coding boot camp. So he's going to be a computer software programmer.
So very good. And how long is the boot camp?
It is 3 months. And we're very hopeful about it, obviously.
How much does that cost?
So it cost $14,000, but we convinced his old job to pay for half of it.
How'd you do that?
Well, we tried to have my husband quit at the end of the summer, and they realized how integral he was to the business. And so they had him stay. They wanted him to stay for an extra few months. And in exchange, we got a little extra paid vacation in that time, and they paid for half the boot camp.
Wow. So did you pay for you have the 7,000 actually set aside, or are you borrowing it?
I'm a saver. I'm I'm a saver.
Okay. How much do you have a set aside in savings right now?
So for myself, I have a few different accounts, but for just my savings account for after my severance runs out, I have 32,000 currently.
Say that again?
32,000.
32. Got it. Okay.
My savings account.
Yep.
And I'm saving about $3,000 a month right now.
Wow.
And then I have 8,000 in my checking. And then I have about 17,000 as super, super, super backup. Like one of them is my art account. So it's grants that really should be used for art stuff. And then some money that is with a family member. But, if stuff really hit the fan, we could use it.
You could tap that. Okay. What about money you saved for retirement with the college?
So that's very little, unfortunately. That was the last thing. So I only have $3,000 saved in my 403B. And then my husband also, so the way we do our finances, he currently also has 18,000 saved. So has 6 months of his half of the expenses.
Okay. And does he have a retirement, or did he have a retirement plan?
No, which is part of the problem.
Okay.
Have any benefits.
So when he comes out of boot camp, what do you suspect is going to be the salary range? Be conservative.
Conservative will be in the 60 to 70. That's, I would say, super conservative for the first job. And then realistically, we're hoping he lands, in the longer term in the 110, 150 and beyond.
And what about you? What's your game plan?
My game plan right now is to live off as much as I can save until he makes big bucks, and then be an artist, basically, and potentially teach adjunct classes, but they really don't pay well.
It's like crap. I always notice. I'm amazed. What a scam these colleges are, by the way. What about a public school art kind of person?
You have to have other certifications. You need more certifications and more schooling than you need to be a professor.
I didn't know that.
It's crazy. I'm open to other things, but it's kind of, let's see if my spouse can make enough that our family can be comfortable and I can do my thing.
How about doing the bar mitzvah circuit? Would you do that?
I'm more of an academic photographer. That's the problem.
In other words, I can't even hire you to do anything. Are you kidding me?
Buy art. I sell prints. I show at museums and stuff.
Wow.
it's less of a regular commercial photography type of bent. It's more intellectual.
Oh my God.
Which is not practical. Like,
no. Now, let me ask you a question for real. If you had to do it all over again, would you take this path of academic and artistic prowess, or would you maybe reconsider knowing what you know now?
I think I'm pretty happy with where we are. I'm sitting in my studio that we turned my attic into. I'm looking out. I can see the skyline of Boston. I'm pretty happy.
All right.
I don't think I would change it. Would I maybe have taken a couple more math classes to give me some more options? Maybe. But I mean, the reality was when I had my job, it was my dream job. And if the academic job market was such that I could just be full-time again, I would do it in a heartbeat.
We'll finish up with Nora in just a second. Hey, during the break, go to JillOnMoney.com and bookmark it. And don't forget, we've got lots of great content every single week. JillOnMoney.com. We'll be right back.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. And we're just so delighted that you are listening to us, the first full show of 2022. Maybe you've got some resolutions. Maybe they're financial, maybe they're not. I will say that I'm often intrigued by resolutions in general. You know, we've had a lot of guests who've been able to talk to us about this, but in general, I do love the idea of thinking about how you can change your life for the better. And there was one bit of really interesting data that came out of the Fidelity Investments annual financial resolution study. It seems that 84% of you say that you've learned to stop worrying about what you can't control in your financial lives. And boy, does that feel good. Man, I would love it if people got that feeling. And sometimes the best way to get that feeling is to get an unbiased look at your financial life. Now, I mean, of course, Mark and I are not biased, but maybe a deeper dive into your financial life. If that's your case, if that might sound like something you could be interested in, I encourage you to check out our sponsor, Facet Wealth. Facet Wealth provides goal-based financial planning from dedicated certified financial planners. And when we talk about certified financial planners, the good news is that those are folks who have to put your best interest first. The other good news factor of Facet Wealth is that they try to provide access to a lot of different kinds of clients, and they do that with flat fee, conflict-free planning. So if you want a little peace of mind, a little bit of another set of eyes and ears on your situation, besides me and Mark, which, you know, we're happy to do, but, you know, we don't do this for a living full time, check out the folks at Facet Wealth, facetwealth.com. That is their website, so check them out. Okay, so now let's get back to our conversation with Nora. If you guys missed the first segment, Nora is out of work due to COVID, and we're just trying to coach her through what has to happen next in her life. And of course, I should note that Nora joins us from the Capital One Bank virtual studios. So here we go, back to Nora. So what's the question here?
The question is, I feel like I've saved so much money. Like, I have enough at this point that I can pay for at least my half of our expenses for a full year, probably a little bit more after my severance runs out. Mm-hmm. And I'm still saving. And by the time my spouse runs out of money, so he has about 6 months of his savings. We hope he has a job by then. But if not, basically, by then, my savings will be such that I can cover both of us for about a year on our expenses. But it's feeling like maybe I should actually pivot some of that money into the retirement funds while I can.
Never. No, I don't think so. I want to stay liquid. You guys are in super duper transition. I don't know if Mark's going to agree with me on this. I think you need to stay liquid. Do not invest a penny of this. Talk to me after he comes out of this 3-month boot camp.
Okay.
Tell me what he's earning. Can you guys live on that first conservative salary? If he's making 70 grand, 65 or 70 grand, can you guys live on that one salary?
With my
No, forget about the severance. Can you live on just that?
It would be tight.
Okay.
It would be tight.
Okay. Then you're telling me everything I need to know. So I want you to stockpile cash.
Okay.
You are not going to put any money into retirement right now. And you are going to really have to see where things land. The good news is you got a great housing situation that, you know, the 2-family thing works for you. Right. And it's paying most of all the expenses, I guess, essentially for the house. So that's why you can live on $100,000 a year in the Boston market. Right.
Yes.
But I mean, the more variables that we have that are outstanding, the less risk you can take.
Okay.
So you're doing exactly what you should be doing. My nephew went to a one of these coding schools. I mean, game changer for him. I have to say, I was not such a big fan previously, but his experience, like watching him go through this, completely turned things around. And the other thing that was interesting, I know that we've interviewed a lot of people who are like, oh, don't go to college and just go to boot camp, go to coding camp. Like, yeah, that's possible. Except I think the reason that my nephew was able to score such a good job is that he had an education, he had worked in other organizations, and he was a mature person who could like actually manage people. So I think that the other thing to remember is that I think your husband might be in a position as kind of a grown up in that industry that he could even see himself rise faster than you anticipate. And it is a tight job market. So my fingers are crossed for you guys. Can you just run through a few other things with me? So you've got your money that's coming in. You've got your health insurance. How about what do you guys have for life insurance?
We are negligent on that front. We were working on that when I was losing my job, and then we just didn't follow through on it because they seemed very keen on the duration of period, like time we'd had my job, so that I didn't.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think you should just get some cheap term life insurance. Podcast sponsor Policy Genius or many other online organizations. You probably need at least $500,000 each, at least. Maybe $1 million, but let's just do $500,000 to start to keep the expense down. Get a 20-year term life insurance policy. Okay.
Yes.
How about wills?
That's similar situation.
Mark, can we get a sounder for people who don't have their estate documents in place? You're a little more forgiven just because there's too much stuff going on? Yeah. I mean, it's just like it's true. Your lives have been upended, but I still want you to get wills. I really do. So that's what you can spend some of your savings on.
Okay.
All right. Policy Genius, they've got wills. I feel like, Mark, I'm becoming a commercial for Jennifer Fitzgerald's company. This is ridiculous. What else can we do for you? Anything else?
So I'm not going to put any money in right now. But in the past, you have said that you liked TIAA CREF
more
than anything else. And that is one of my options.
Okay.
And I won't put anything in unless and until my husband gets some phenomenal job.
Right.
Let's say if he does get, 110,000, 150, whatever. Let's say he gets a crazy job right out of the gate.
Yep.
I still have access.
Great.
Potentially.
Great.
Then am I allowed to pour money in? And do I switch to TIAA from Fidelity? And why is it better? I guess that's my fundamental question.
Well, okay. There's two parts of TIAA.
Yes.
One is the annuity side and one is just a bunch of mutual funds, the CREF side.
Okay.
And the CREF side is sort of analogous to any, there's an index fund and there aren't as many choices as say the whole Fidelity fund family. But the reason why people like me just extol the great virtues of TIAA is that guaranteed side is unbelievable. And there does not exist another annuity product for the masses. That's why I like it. That is so cheap because they just have really, really low expenses. So why don't we make a little pinky swear? If you and your husband are in better shape in 3 or 6 months, we'll bring you guys on the air and we'll talk about what to do next.
Okay.
How's that?
I'll take it.
Fair enough?
That sounds wonderful.
Okay. Now, Mark, is there anything else that I've forgotten? I know. I thought that, like, you do have $1 million asset called
Right.
your house and you got a lot of equity in it, but then they got to live someplace, unless you want to move to a much cheaper market.
Which we don't intend to move, but now that we're not tethered, we potentially could.
Right.
Everywhere,
it's a possibility.
Everywhere feels expensive. I mean, not as expensive as here, but nowhere
Yeah.
seems cheap right now.
Well, let's just say that, like, I don't even know this. I'm going to make this up. Let's just say that, husband gets a great job. He's coding. He's making $1.25. And, maybe you could move to like Manchester, New Hampshire. See how I'm making this up? Maybe there's a possibility there, or maybe not, or maybe you move near family, or maybe whatever. But let's do one thing at a time. Okay, if you, like Nora, have a question, just give us a holler. JillOnMoney.com. JillOnMoney.com is the website. Bookmark it, learn it, love it, adopt it, make it your favorite, and shoot us a note. Just do that by clicking on the contact button. Jill on Money. We will be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. And, sometimes you guys send us notes about your own financial situation, but other times, really interesting, I find that a lot of folks are trying to help their friends, their neighbors, their family members. And if that's your situation, maybe you just want to have some recording that you can play for your friend, your family member, where we contemplate that person's situation. Of course, it's better if the person calls in him or herself, but, maybe the next best thing is for you to do that. That's what Brooke did. Hello, Brooke. How can we help you out?
So I had a question about my mother-in-law. She actually she's not super well-to-do, but she has all of her life savings in a Merrill Lynch account. And as she ages, she's looking to potentially sign that over to my husband and I. Mm-hmm. She's just worried about kind of as she gets older and healthcare costs and, maybe prematurely draining that account due to those things. And we were just curious if that's like something we should consider.
Tell me a little bit about her. So how old is she?
She's 80.
Okay. And how old are you, Brooke?
I'm 42.
How old is your husband?
46.
Is he the only child?
No, he has a brother who actually came up with this idea after seeing his own mother-in-law go through a negative health situation.
Are both your husband and your brother in similar financial situations?
Hard to say. The brother doesn't have kids, and he lives in the city. We're more in the suburbs, so it's a different kind of markers. I would say, we're both comfortable. Both families are comfortable.
Okay. When you say her life savings, can you quantify how much money she has in that Merrill Lynch account?
It's $175K.
Okay. And that's really the only money she has? She doesn't have a bank account somewhere?
It's in like a cash management account. So she draws from that for any expenses beyond Social Security.
And so she lives on Social Security and the money in this account?
Yes.
How much is she drawing down on this account every month? Do you know?
It goes in between $600 to the high has been $1,500.
Okay. But generally, is it about $1,000 a month?
That's probably fair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What are we scared of here? That she's going to need to go into a home or something?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Right now she's living independently, but, her mobility, is getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
She's, giving up the car. She doesn't walk on her own anymore. So she needs
Boy, does it suck to get old.
Yeah, right. So she's the most optimistic person in the world, though, which is great. So, the idea is like with the other son's mom, or mother-in-law, she had basically gone into care quite quickly, and then basically was waiting to qualify for Medicaid. So it just drained all of her life savings in the time it took to get her into like a final hospice care.
I gotcha.
He and his wife suggested, hey, so you're not completely, destitute at any point. That's really what we're looking for, is to preserve as much money, not so much for an inheritance, but for.
I understand.
For
I got it. I just wanted to know what I wanted to figure out what the goal was here. How much is her house worth?
So that money is based on selling her house of 30 years.
Oh.
So she's paying rent now.
Ah, I got it. So she's paying rent. Okay, that's really interesting. You may not need to make this one fell swoop. Is she also in Pennsylvania?
She is.
Okay. So I think that we have to go look up what is the limit in Pennsylvania that will make you Medicaid eligible. Okay. Now, it's weird because there's all these weird things that, like, what is income? What are assets? So it looks to me that a married couple's joint assets can be up to $130,000. So she doesn't have to actually get down to zero, right? We have to get the amount of money for a single person to get that. What you might want to do is, instead of actually trying to, give it all away, maybe what we should do is just do gifting. And you can do an annual gift right now of $15,000 per person. So your mother-in-law could essentially take $15,000 and gift it to you and to your husband, and then another $15,000 to your brother-in-law and your sister-in-law. Mm-hmm. So right there, we can do this right now, immediately. There's no tax event doing this. And you can do it this year in 2021 and do the exact same thing next year in 2022 in the beginning of the year. And then I think she's probably okay. So 30 this year, right? So 30 and 30 is 60 and 6. So she'll be done. And she doesn't have to get into like doing that for your kids. I mean, if she really wanted to do it, you could gift more because she could gift to your kids, but we don't want to make it unequal.
Right.
Now, the only other thing I would say is the money that's in this account just has to stay liquid. It has to be really boring. There's nothing more you can do. And then you guys are going to probably have to start paying some of the bills. Let's say she does not need care and she whittles this all down. You guys are then going to have to start paying the bills.
Yeah, and that's fine. We're totally okay with that. We'd probably keep it separate so that whatever she needed, it would be her money that we would be writing a check for.
All right. So this is what I would do. I would be very, very careful around this. I think does she have an attorney?
Just here and there when she's like needed a will, not someone.
Okay. So she has somebody who did her will though, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Great. So I think that's kind of it, because her only income would be Social Security, which I'm sure is not very high right now. I think that it's important that you guys feel like you're going to be able to step in and someone is going to actually be able to pay these bills. No fancy pants, no gifting all at once. Keep the money in her name. And I think that you're good. I think that that's sort of the general game plan here. I mean, it may not even be necessary to get down beyond that, but I mean, I might just talk to somebody who is like, maybe talk to the lawyer and just make sure I'm reading this correctly about the Pennsylvania rules. But I think you'd be fine and dandy, and you just make sure in addition to the will that she has a healthcare proxy and a durable power of attorney, and just make sure that you are kind of dealing with this stuff sooner rather than later. Because as you said, she sounds like she's in declining health, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to get back to Brooke in just a second. Maybe you need to help out your in-laws. Give us a shout. JillOnMoney.com. Click the contact button. We'll be right back.
If you've missed any part of a show or want to check out a past show, go to JillOnMoney.com for more great personal finance content.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. This is the program that tries to take the mystery out of your financial life. Now, if you missed the previous segment or any other part of the show, just hop onto the website jillonmoney.com at the end of the weekend, and you can get links to everything. Very easy to do. So before we went to the break, we were talking to Brooke in Pennsylvania. She was helping her mother-in-law, but now we're going to talk about her plan.
For me, just for a retirement check-in, I am, like I said, 42. My current balance for my 403B is $347,000.
Nice.
Is that good? So I feel like you get all the calls about people who complain about, everyone being such high earners, and I'm here to set the record straight. Okay. So.
All right. I like it. Are you a teacher?
No, but I do work in higher ed.
So you're in higher ed, so no pension, just the 403B?
No pension, but I do get straight off the bat 8% employer contribution pre-tax. And then I do an additional 12%. I do currently 9% Roth and 3% pre-tax to get to 20. Currently, so my husband and I have 2 kids. I make 93 roughly a year. And I just kind of want to know, should I be doing more? Like the calculators go back and forth on telling me I'm great to telling me I'm terrible. So
I don't want to say that you're terrible ever. No. Are you the sole wage earner in the family?
I am. My husband brings in maybe like 10K. He's our youngest is getting to the age where he will now, try to go back to full-time work. But right now, these are what our numbers are that we have to work. And
how much is your house worth?
This time has been good for us. We are at, I'd say we're probably like close to 350, 340, 350, somewhere there in there.
Mortgage balance?
About 170. We just refied to a 20 at 2.5. So we're not paying extra.
Do you feel like you have some wiggle room in your cash flow or not?
I mean, we do. We're not like crazy spenders. But we always, my thought is I don't really want to put more in if I don't have to, because I'd like to grow up, my cash and just kind of feel a little bit more freedom. Just to not, I always think about it, but that's also my personality. So I could put in a little bit more if that would make the difference in the long run.
Tell me what's in your cash reserve, in your emergency reserve fund right now.
We have about 30K.
That seems a little low.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's something I'm always working toward, but I would say that's our 6-month expenses. We could probably stretch it a little bit if we needed to, if we were really cutting back.
Do you have any money set aside for kids, or we are Penn State? Are they going to state school? What are they doing?
Well, I mean, they're still pretty young. I do have a benefit of, working in a university system if they were to get in. So that's always, I just put in like $100 a month for them just to kind of show them that I care, but not to pay for anything.
I love that. That's so funny. How old are they?
10 and 4.
And how much is in the 10-year-olds?
I think I don't check it too often. I want to say she's right around 9,000.
And the 4-year-old?
It's, probably like $3,000.
You don't like her as much anyway.
Well, we haven't known her.
I don't think you have to do that. I mean, I think that they know that you love them. I mean, I really do. So I don't think you have to do that. I would rather take the $100 and just throw it into cash reserves and build that up to, closer to more like a 9-month. It doesn't sound like you're at risk of losing your job, but you never know. Life's weird. And you expect that your husband will make more money in the future. That will help you build things up. I mean, obviously, what would be great would be, when the kids are, both in school, that he's starting to work and then he just puts money in his own Roth, he's able to do that because he's making more money. So I think that's the game plan. Does he have any retirement plans, anything else that's floating around or not?
He's got 0.
0 is not exactly the number I was hoping for. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Brooke, I want a larger than, greater than 0. All right, well, he's got to get back to work as he's the primary caretaker. When's that 4-year-old going into kindergarten? Isn't that like the magic moment where we can get him back to work?
It is. I mean, if he's kind of looking now, because we would, if paying for care offset the cost, then we would do it. So
you're in that weird situation. Actually, you would be really helped by the child care provision of Build Back Better if it gets passed.
Yeah.
You would because then it would be like, okay, we can pay for it because it's not like this whopping number. So you're the type of family that would be good for you. But let's see how this goes. In the meantime, let him go get a job. Don't make yourself too crazy. You're doing what you need to be doing. I'd love for you to build up the cash reserves a little bit. Don't worry about the 529 plans. And presumably, when he's going back to work and has income, at the very least, let him just open a Roth IRA and put $6,000 in.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So don't worry about my retirement.
What am I going to worry about? Why am I going to worry about that? If your cash flow allows, sure, put more money away, but don't make yourself nuts. It's not worth it.
You're in better shape than you think you are. You're only 42. You almost got $500,000. You're going to keep saving for another 20 years. You're in good shape.
Mark, you got to leave that in because that's a good message.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to think about all the time, Mark.
Mark, make sure you keep that in and maybe isolate that and send it to Brooke so she can play that on the phone. I think you're going to be just fine. I don't want you to stress. If you, like Brooke, would like to focus on either a family member or yourself, give us a holler, JillOnMoney.com. And all you need to do is click the contact button. Don't forget while you're there, you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter and subscribe to our 2 podcasts, Jill on Money and I on Money. All the links are right there. Beautiful. Okay, we'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Jill on Money. And, we get questions from you guys all the time. But sometimes when I'm off on break, I get other financial questions, family members, friends, etc. I got a great question. You're going to love this, Mark. Young couple own an apartment in Brooklyn, own a studio apartment, found a 2-bedroom apartment in the same building. And they are wondering whether or not to buy the new apartment without selling their current apartment. Mark, guess what my answer was? That was such a big no. I couldn't even believe it. And then the other question, which was really bizarre, was that the one member of the couple said he wanted to pay down the mortgage on the existing apartment. Why? Because he said, well, then I won't have that obligation. So if I can't sell it and I just want to rent it, the rent would cover the nut. Gang, I don't know how to put this more bluntly, but this is what we call a balance sheet question. You have an apartment that is on the left side. That's your asset. You have cash, which is maybe sitting in an account. That is also on the left side. And on the right side, you have a liability. When you take the cash to pay down the liability, there's nothing that changes except you've lost your liquidity. You have no money that's available to you. It's not like you get rid of a liability and poof, magically out of air, you are also replenishing your cash at the same time. Please don't pay down mortgages, especially if you are going to be selling your apartment anytime soon. I came in from my long walk with this young couple and announced to everybody who was listening that I was a dream crusher because I would not allow them to buy the new apartment without selling their existing apartment. Now, I don't consider myself a real dream crusher, but that is a nickname Mark made up for me, and I've adopted it. I've adopted it. I'm just happy to be that person. I think a realist is more what I'd like to say. Is that okay? I think so. Anyway, don't be buying an apartment before you sell your existing apartment, and certainly don't pay off a mortgage for any apartment that you or house that you're going to be selling anytime soon. Don't fool yourselves. If you have a question about that, any real estate question, housing question, apartment question, moving up, downsizing, I don't care what it is. Give us a holler. It's very easy. JillOnMoney.com. Click the contact button. And don't forget, when you're on the website, you can subscribe to our 2 podcasts, Jill on Money and I on Money. And remember that our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer. Please try to do something nice for someone else today. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.